welcome back to the Daily Dog Walk. Today, we're starting a conversation about narcissistic parents. Katie and I are sharing our experiences about what it looks like for us growing up and how it shaped the women we became. If this resonates with you, just know you are not alone. It's episode 2, and we're talking about narcissistic parents.
Yeah.
Which we were introduced to your narcissistic father in the previous episode, where you gave us some background about your childhood growing up with your mum and dad and how that affected you, and not only yourself but your mum as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your mum became an alcoholic and she passed away. Was it last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. A year ago, January last year. Yeah.
Oh, bless. Okay, so I'm really sorry about for your loss there. But I really do appreciate you coming on. And we talked about, why we're doing the podcast as well. And I think there's so many people that can resonate. I put a post out. So I put a post out on Threads, and I said it was it was just a emotionally exhausted Gen Xers, who with narcissistic parents, where are you? You're my people. There's over 1,000 likes on that post. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And over 350 comments. There's probably more than that now. Okay. I could not believe the response to that post. They were coming out in their droves. Even the people on the post were like, oh my God, there's so many of us. It's like ridiculous.
That's horrible.
It is sad. That's what I put on the post. I was like, this is sad. It's, I'm lovely to meet you all, but oh my God, and It was humbling in a way, because I know I'm not alone, but it's just the sheer numbers was, and there were some people on there, telling little bits of their stories as well. And they were saying, there was one person on there who said that they had, what was it? What did they say? The mum was a party girl, didn't care about, only had me so that I could love her unconditionally. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you could just see snippets of people's stories, and, there's so many different scenarios out there, and yeah, it's just sad. And I don't really know what I'm trying to say, if I'm honest, because I just know that, us doing this, there is an audience out there for this. And that just made me sad. It didn't make me think, oh, I'm glad I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It just made me think, wow, do you know what I mean? Like,
do you know what fascinates me? People that grew up without that.
Yes.
I like when I meet somebody who had a really healthy upbringing, I'm fascinated by them. Yeah. I just want to go, just tell me everything. You must be so successful. Like, you did amazing at school, didn't you?
Yeah.
You must have an amazing job. Tell me everything about your growing up.
Yeah, so everything.
I'm so fascinated by it. What must you feel like inside as a person being raised by really healthy, well-adjusted people?
Yeah, I get that.
It's so weird, the thing to wonder, but no, it fascinates me.
And I feel the same. Like, I know I get a bit jealous. I do. I'm not going to lie. I get the green-eyed monster. Yeah. I really, really do. Especially when I'm not so much now, but more when I was in my late 20s or early 30s, especially when I had babies and everybody was getting their their parents to look after their grandchildren. And I was just like having to pay over £1,000 a month on childcare.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself, I wish I had a family dynamic that, I could support a support system. That must be lovely.
I'm definitely envious.
Yeah.
I think that I was disadvantaged. So definitely disadvantaged. And I shouldn't really say that. I'm not in a disadvantaged group, am I?
No,
I'm a white woman sitting in a house that everything's in my name with a good job.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here saying I was disadvantaged. That's really crap, isn't it?
No, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean.
But
you were a child.
I had less opportunities than I could have because of...
And all children are vulnerable children.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
There you go. All children are vulnerable. And, it's the trust that you put into these people that should have they should love you unconditionally. They should want the best for you. They should treat you the best. You should think they're the ones that should be treating you the best, but then they're not.
No, because my dad, everything, and like you say, because he's a narcissist, everything's about him. Yeah. Everything revolves around him. Even schooling and college, I started at college, I ended up leaving college to help support my mum and dad. because they were struggling. And I felt bad.
You were at CRC, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, so we went to CRC. We're not together, but we were there at the same
really
time.
wanted to be a solicitor. And I started there on legal secretarial because I had no idea or no direction or anything on what to do.
Yeah.
So I ended up not applying to college in time, and Dad was really ill in hospital during all of my exams, and I didn't do I did pretty well, but I didn't do as well as I could have. All my teachers actually wrote letters to the college to say she would have, but she had a family situation. So I got into the legal secretarial, and I thought I'll just work my way up.
Yeah.
But Mum and Dad were really struggling financially, and even though they'll tell you now they didn't want me to leave, that I did it all on my own, that's nonsense. Even I believed that for most of my life. That's not what happened. I had to leave, they couldn't afford it. They needed me to work and contribute. So that Dad could not work. Because of his disability. I'll always do that when I say disability. And I don't doubt that he's got issues, but he's perfectly capable. If he can go and work in the museum all day long, 8 hours a day, he can work. So, so I had to leave and support them. So everything was about him and what he needed. Which makes me extra proud now that my daughter's now a solicitor.
I bet it does.
And that she had that support, and she had that home life that I always wonder about.
You got first time. Same here, I know now.
I mean, I have no doubt I put some of my drama onto them. I have no doubt. And my oldest daughter will be telling her counsellor that I'm the problem. And I can't even disagree. But I think they had that. They had that support and that safe place, But everything was always about him. So that was about him. My chances of careers and that ended up coming down to something he needed. But when I think back to growing up, everything was always around him and his image. And I never realised it. You watch my dad talking like really proudly about his kids, but actually it was an image thing with him.
Absolutely.
It's no secret that he always wanted boys. He's always like, oh, I never got a son. He always called my nephew Jordan his grandson the son I never had. He'd call my cousin Alan the son I never had. He always wanted boys because that would have made him look good. And he would have coached them and nurtured them to be amazing in his image. But all he had was us girls. So it was always about how we looked. It was about like my sister was the pretty one, I was the clever one, and that's how we were introduced when people met us. This is the clever one, this is the pretty one. My sister has a big complex about being stupid, and I've always had issues with my image. What a shock!
Do you know what I mean? It
doesn't take Freud, does it?
Exactly. Wow.
So it's but everything was about his image. We always had to look perfect. We always had to be immaculate. We always had to behave like ladies. Everything was about image, and it was all to make him look good.
And that's the thing with narcissists. It's so self-centered. They are so selfish. They don't think about your needs, or it's just about how they look. And it's funny because I've on the other, I shouldn't laugh about it because my grandmother passed away before Christmas, but on one of the previous podcasts when I've talked about it, I've said very clearly that I feel that my grandma was a narcissist, and as well as my mum. Do you know what I mean? And one of the things that I was never allowed to call her grandma, and not just me. It's not just me. It's the whole of the other grandchildren as well. So I am the eldest, and I was the first one, and that's when she decided. I don't know if it was because I was a brown baby, but it was. I don't want to be her to call me grandma. She has to call me by my first name, Pat. But then she did it with all the other grandchildren. So I don't know if she then did that to cover herself, but I'm not sure. But what I will say is she was the same. She only looked after me, I felt, to save face with everybody else, because I was her granddaughter, and she had to look after me, because I was her granddaughter. But she didn't look after me, if that makes sense. So I was just a show piece.
To everyone else she did.
Yes, to everybody else.
Behind closed doors she didn't.
She didn't look after me. No, my great-grandparents lived next door. They looked after me. They cared for me. Sorry, she looked after me. They cared for me. Do you know what I mean? But so she's in my life. She's probably the biggest narcissist because she just did everything for show. Okay, there was no love or care or tentative. Do you know what I mean? Tentative there. It was literally just, I have to do this because you're my daughter's daughter, and I've got to be seen to do it, and that sticks with me because that was the narrative that was happening when I'd left. Because then this happened even recently last year when I was asked to go to the old people's home to visit my grandmother, and I was talking to my mum, and she turned around and said, I can't remember the conversation in its entirety, but she made a sweeping comment about, well, it was your choice basically to leave Mildenhall, to leave this town. It was your choice, so because you decided to leave, that's why, you've got no family and you've got nothing. Do you know what I mean? Okay, right. It wasn't my choice to leave, though, was it? It really wasn't. Yeah, I chose to go to Cambridge and I chose to go to college, but I didn't want to leave my family at all, The same what you said in the last episode. If it wasn't for the abuse, I wouldn't have left.
Yeah.
But now it's my fault that I've left.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Do you know what I mean?
Don't you find, and it's funny you say that because I was going to ask you as well, don't you find that there's so many conditions on their love?
Yes.
So many. Like because you left the town.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not, you have to do with the family.
Yeah.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
We said this about the car, didn't I? About it's all or nothing. And my cousin made this up as well. When my sister made a decision to be out of my mum and dad's life to get sober and get well, and I was the only one here. I was doing as much as because I knew my mum could never leave my dad and her life was lonely and she was drinking. I did as much as I could with my mum. I spent every weekend with her, all weekend. We had the allotment. We were always together. Took her to shows, took her to festivals. And I'm so grateful for those years.
Yeah, I bet.
But then my sister, who is as narcissistic as my dad, in many ways worse because she'll sit and talk to me about the abuse and make out like all of her trouble was the trauma, but actually she's as bad as him.
Right.
She just uses people. She's one of the worst people I know.
Yeah.
And she decided to come back into their lives. But rather than just tell me, I want to speak to them again, and I always told her I'd support that.
Yeah.
Although I didn't think it was best for her. She cut me off first. Like, with no warning, just cut me off.
What goes through their
I know,
heads?
don't.
What goes
know.
through their heads? It just makes no sense.
She made up this narrative that I'd been keeping her from them. Even though there's, written proof for 10 years that I hadn't, but it doesn't matter. Once they believe it.
Yeah, that's it.
So she decided she cut me off. And then, because she came back into their lives, they cut me off.
Yeah, right, okay.
And my cousin was like, it's almost like there's a car with space for 4 people. And not everybody can sit in the car.
Yeah.
So if you get out of if they're getting in the car, you've got to get out.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was like, and this car just goes around and whoever's in it at the time,
Yeah.
And I remember her saying to me, no matter what happens, Kate, you do not get back in that car. I'm like, I'm pushing the car off a cliff. I'm not getting in that car again. And this has become like a running joke in our family. Don't get in the car. I'm not getting in the car. But that's what it's like. It's like all or nothing. You're either completely in with whatever life story and scenario they've made up in their heads and their little delusion now, and if you're not on board with it, you're out. And because you moved location,
I know,
geographically, you're not in the family.
I'm not in the family. I know. Well, that's all resolved now, but I think the craziest thing that my mum, I was thinking about this. I was thinking, what is the craziest thing that my narcissistic mother has done? And there are that depends on other people's values, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really, really does.
Yeah.
And because she has done some, the abuse, the physical abuse, which is horrendous on its own. But to me, you said we were talking about this before, previous episode. It wasn't the abuse. That wasn't the nail in the coffin for me. For me, it was how she could actually look at her child and just go, nah, I'm not going to love you. I'm not going to support you. So I'd say that I don't even, it's between two. It's the time that I went to America and I was about to see my stepdad, and my stepdad had sexually abused me when I was younger. Hardest day of my life to see him again.
Yeah.
Really needed my mum. And she just ignored me all day. like literally. But she did worse than ignore me all day. She ended up disappearing at the venue of my brother's graduation, so that the whole family had to go and look for her. We were talking about this earlier on, weren't we? Remember the Strawberry Gate? Yeah,
Whose
with your
graduation?
dad? My brother's graduation.
Oh, because it wasn't about her.
Because it was, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she ended up disappearing, and we couldn't find her. Then told us that she was sitting on the steps the whole time, which we drove around the venue twice, and it's like she wasn't there. So we were like, yes, literally trying,
made the whole day about her.
Made the whole day about her. So my brother had his graduation in the morning. I was seeing my, stepdad that day, and so I was going, and I was on my own in another country. Do you know what I mean? I know, it was all her. There was that. So to me, that was bad. Luckily, I was very lucky. This is the caveat here. My mum had told my auntie, even though I didn't really want her to tell anybody. I'm really super glad she told her, because my auntie isn't an idiot, and she saw the situation, and she just grabbed me out the way, and she goes, look, took me in the car and just went, look, I know you probably don't want me to know this, but I know, and I've got you. Your mum's horrendous, a human being. I can't believe the way she's treating you right now, and I'm going to look after you. And she did. And she took me there, and she goes, we will get you out of there. And I was shaking like this. I couldn't even hold my cup. And she got her son to come and take me and his girlfriend. They took me around a drive around Texas. When I got back, my mum, when I got back, I was calm, and my nervous system had settled. And he was there, and guess where he was? Sitting in the back garden with my mum on one of these swinging chairs, laughing and joking, like they were having the time of their life. I think that's bad. I think that's probably one of the worst times, because without the abuse, because she knew that's her daughter. And, she knew how, well, somebody's done something horrendous to your child, and you're going to go and talk to them. You're going to go and, not even just talk to them. You're going to flirt with them, and you're not going to protect your child. And that's why, I've got abandonment issues, and the kind of it, because I don't have anybody that just loves me properly like they should love me. Do you know what I mean? Or cares for me like they should care for me. And I'm sitting there thinking, hang on a minute, what the hell's going on here? This is a really bizarre situation to be in.
The confusion and the frustration that comes with not understanding just how they can have no basic human decency.
No, there's no human decency.
And it's so frustrating and so confusing. I think that's caused me the most anguish in my life. Just that knot in my stomach of just not understanding. Like, how can you do that? I can't turn my love for my girls on and off. I don't always like them.
Yeah, I know.
But I can't turn that. My colleague at work, Amy, would hate if she watches this, but that mama bear instinct, she hates it when I say that. She's like, that's so cringy.
I love it, though.
But you do. It kicks in.
It does kick in.
It's just there.
Yeah.
Somebody comes at your child, you're there, and you can't stop it. It's a physical thing.
Yeah. But my mum doesn't have that. And
because all she's concerned about is who's hurt her, who bothers her.
Yes.
And that person hadn't harmed her at that point.
Yeah. So she didn't care.
It didn't matter. She doesn't feel that towards them.
No. And then that is what I find so bizarre. So I've always tried to understand my mum at the expense of my feelings, or at the expense of my mental health, or just, it's just normal. But that's not normal.
No.
Is it? That's not normal. She's done so many more things that I don't even know why. Well, I don't even know why I kept trying with her. Do you know what I mean? Because then somebody on that post the other day got a little bit angry with me and started suggesting that I'm starting to do I don't know if they were suggesting that it was just me on my own, but they were saying that there's a movement out there of people that are encouraging others to cut ties with their narcissistic parents, and that they think that we should be more understanding, and and that these people came from their boomers, were brought up by boomers, and that basically they had little to no health care or mental health understanding, so we should give
so that's okay, is it, to carry on that life?
Thank you. Yeah.
My sister.
Or we're going to be lonely. We're going to be lonely in our old age.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Thank you.
If that's the alternative, I'm alone. That's fine.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
I know. I blocked them.
Excusing people's behaviour.
I blocked them. And that's what I said to them. I said, you should be ashamed of yourself, really. Do you know what I mean? For making excuses for these people. They're criminals. And some of these cases, your dad should have been arrested for assaulting you that night.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. My mum should have been arrested for, you've said some things before about when the police came. I feel guilty now for not protecting myself because I did the same thing. Covers up here so they couldn't see. Yeah. No, I'm fine. The police officer sitting on my bed clearly knows I'm not fine, but I'm not saying anything because I was so scared, you know. And I hate myself for that. Do you know what I mean? Because if I'd have said something at the time, maybe my life would have been different.
But it's unlikely.
Yeah, true.
I see how much gets done now. It's unlikely. Yeah. But also, you were a kid. You can't be held responsible for any of it. Yeah. You were a child. Everything before the age of 18. But after that, it's on you. Yeah.
No.
And that whole comment.
Now I'm an arsehole.
The minute you're an adult, or the minute you have any awareness, it is your responsibility.
Yes.
My sister, she went on to be an abuser. She went on to abuse her kids the same way my dad did us. Yeah. I didn't. I went the opposite way. And broke the cycle. Yeah. So if you're going to go by those kinds of things, then why didn't I just carry on? Yeah. Wasn't I just like it then? Well, I grew up in abuse, so why didn't I just do it? I don't know any better.
Do you know what? This person on this...
I'm allowed to say fuck
Yeah,
off.
you can say fuck off. This person on this thread the other day, they said to me, what did they say? They were like, because we carried on backwards and forwards, and they turned around and they said, it's so stupid. No, it's so stupid that because we're cutting ties and doing this, that we're actually, you can't even see it, but you're actually continuing the cycle. I know, don't. This person was a bit...
Sounds like one of them.
That's exactly what I thought.
That's how they twist shit. It's like my sister.
That's what I thought.
That year that she did that division thing with my mum, she wanted mum and dad back in her life. She'd got in her head that I was the problem, whatever. Yeah. Crazy shit went on in her head that year. So she'd obviously turned. And so she actually printed out, I mean, we're talking 10 years of two sisters talking about what happened in their upbringing. She printed out those messages and showed my mum and dad. She did it to serve her own narrative that Katie's been saying this stuff about you, Katie's the problem. What she actually did, she didn't do anything to Dad. Dad doesn't have feelings like that.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
She doesn't have feelings like that. No. What she did was she broke my mum's fucking heart.
Yeah, of course she did.
Because she saw me saying things that were hurtful, that I would never have said to my mum, not because they weren't true, but because my mum wouldn't have wanted to hear them. Yeah, because it tormented my mum, which I found out in the end when she was in hospital, and she told me that she never stopped it.
Because she's going to have that guilt as well, isn't she?
Yeah, and she did. Yeah. Which thankfully we had some time before her mind went that she could tell me that. But my sister didn't contemplate for a minute.
They don't though, do they? They don't, like you said, they don't have feelings.
She don't, and she wouldn't know that she'd break my mum's heart because she doesn't have that feeling.
She didn't care because it wasn't about your mum, it was about her.
Yeah.
And what she got out of it. Yeah, and what she got out of it.
She got her way, so that's all that mattered. Yeah. She absolutely crushed my mum's heart. And then my mum couldn't speak to me. Yeah. And during that whole year, I mean, there was things that she was saying to my dad, like, oh, did Katie tell you that I sent mum this present? No, she didn't tell any of you. She just gave it to mum as if it was her own. Now, mum knew that Teresa sent the present because I'd told her, but mum hadn't told dad because he would have got angry. Now, my mum's standing there with her abuser in the room, with her controller in the room, going, oh, no, I didn't know. Because she can't admit to dad that she knew. Yeah. What does that do? It makes it look like she's telling the truth. Katie was a liar. Yeah. And it all works perfectly, but the only person that got hurt was my mum. And that was the last year she was well. And I lost that year.
Yeah. Such a shame.
And my mum lost that year with me. My mum had a happy life with me. Yeah. The only happiness she ever had was all the time I spent with her. And that was all robbed from me and her. Yeah. Because of two narcissists and her psycho husband all playing their little games, and my poor little mum's dead now. So that's the effect of narcissists. Yeah. So you tell me that we should accept them.
Thank you. Sorry, that
whoever you are, fuck off. Get some fucking help.
Thank you. What? Thank you. I know I blocked them. I blocked them and told them, seriously, don't be. People like you are going to scare people to speak up. That's what I told them. Because,
and make you wonder in your head, is it me?
Guess,
that's a big thing when you were raised by a narcissist.
Yeah, you second
that whole constant, is it me? Am I being too hard?
Do you know what?
Should I forgive myself?
I didn't have that problem because my mum was so extreme. She was so extreme in everything. Do you know what happened 2 weeks after I got put into care? This is how bad my mum is. 2 weeks after I put myself into care, my mum got arrested for attacking a young boy outside the shop in Mildenhall, and she had to go to court. Yeah. He was like 10 years old. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my mum's temper.
How old were you then?
I was 14. I put myself into care 2 weeks before my 15th birthday.
So she's in court for attacking a 10-year-old and no one thought to look at you?
Well, I was already out. Literally, this is 2 weeks after. So I put myself into care. My mum was angry, right? Because I've gone into care. And I mean, the day that I put myself into care, the day that I went in, she came down into that social services office. And the only reason I was put into care is because she beat me up in there. And so she's an angry individual anyway. She wasn't scared to do that there with them there. That's the kind of person she was. She'd show her aggression with people in the room. She didn't hide it. She was meeting me from school and beating me up in front of the teachers and everything. Jesus. She didn't care anymore. That's why I put myself into care, because I knew that with that mentality, she was really going to harm me.
Yeah.
Because she didn't care. She didn't care for me, and she didn't care that other people saw it, and she didn't actually care. She probably if you asked her, she'd tell you she loved me. Do you know what I mean? She would probably tell you that she loved me.
In her brain,
but she didn't care for me at all, So, yeah, she was a very, dangerous individual. That's why I put myself into care. Because, and I think that proves it. The fact that, she attacked a young 10-year-old boy 2 weeks after I went into care. She nearly went to prison. She didn't go to prison. She got, I remember when it all happened. And then I remember seeing her in town. My foster parents, luckily my foster parents were there. And I was in, where the Costa is, opposite the telephone box there and the benches.
Used to be Blockbuster.
Yeah. It used to be Blockbuster, yeah. So I was in there. I was on the bench with my friends. Had just got up, and then went to the telephone box. I was standing at the telephone box, and I turned around, and my mum was there, and she comes storming over to the telephone box, and she just pinned me by my neck inside to the telephone box. I was right into the corner of it because I was all cracked in the door. The door was all grabbing me, and she was just like, "Look at the state of," do you know what I mean? Like, because I had makeup on and just pulling me apart. Do you know what I mean? And just like aggressively. Do you know what I mean? Like she wanted to beat me up right there and then. Luckily, my foster parents were on the other side of the road, and they literally scared her off. And then, do you know what I mean? But she didn't hurt. I was marked and everything. Do you know what I mean? The police had to be called again. But she had no, do you know what I mean? There was no, who does that?
I know.
Who does that? And then I found out about the young boy that she'd just been in trouble for assaulting, and, she was
going to court.
No, but I think he shouted at her, or the ball had gone near her, and, he asked him, I don't know the ins and outs. It was something along those lines, and he was cheeky, and my mum has got a temper, and I
feel like, it's so rare to hear of I'm not saying it doesn't happen a lot, but it's so rare to hear of a female parent narcissist, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I just don't think they're as good at it.
No. My
dad was very calculated, but not calculated. I don't think he plans or thinks. I think it's just...
My mum was aggression. She was like...
She had no control over it.
No.
She didn't think about consequence, whereas my dad would know not to do it in front of people.
More calculated.
He'd wait till we got home.
Yeah. The only time my mum was calculated was the one time, it was literally just before I put myself into care because the violence was getting worse. And so a social worker came around, and it wasn't my normal social worker, so she didn't know the situation. She was just one that was just there to do a job, not invested. My social worker had been my social worker for 8 years. Do you know what I mean? She was invested and wouldn't have left that house without me. Do you know what I mean? But this was just a social worker coming around to do a routine. And she sat there with my mum, and I was sitting on the stairs, and she turned around, and mum, because I told them I used to go in social services office all the time. My mum's hitting me still. What's going on? Can you help me? I was very vocal. You know what I was like back then.
Yeah.
I didn't keep things quiet. I think that's why she beat me up as much as she did, because I was,
You just wouldn't stop telling people.
Yeah, I was very vocal about it all. So she was trying to break me, trying to really scare me and really break me. And then telling me to take my shoes off and then locking the door so I couldn't get out. That kind of stuff. It was really pushing that. Do you know what I mean? Beating me up because I put a glass in the sink. Do you know what I mean? And, it was just getting worse and worse and worse for little things, for nothing. So that atmosphere was just all the time, consistently, and I had, anxiety all the time because I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I would stand there, and if she walked into the room, I would just be like automatically start shaking because what have I done? Even though I haven't even been here, I don't know what why am I scared all the time? So that particular time when the social worker came round, my mum was like, oh no, I know I've got a problem. I know I need to do something about this. And I thought, oh my God, maybe that's the first time she's actually admitting this. I've heard social worker left and my mum came in and she just went, I was on the stairs and she went, did you hear all of that? And I thought maybe we're going to have a good afternoon now. Do you know what I mean? And she was like, because, good days, bad days, minutes, not even bad days. Do you know what I mean? It's minutes, really. And she turned around and she was, and I said, yeah, I did hear that. And she just went, well, good. I'm glad you heard that because nothing's going to change for you. I just told her what she wanted to hear.
Yeah. And they know how to manipulate authorities as well, like that.
Join us, me and Katie, in the next episode of The Daily Dog Walk, where we continue our conversation about growing up with narcissistic parents.